let's get this party started. My name is Kyle Simmons. I am I'll be talking to you for the next 45 minutes, but we're going to talk about using no-code tools to launch faster, save money, and streamline your startup. So let's dive right in. There's a lot that we're going to go over. So again, like I said earlier, feel free to put something in the chat or in the Q&A. If I'm going too fast, feel free to tell me to slow down. If you would also like these slides, email me and I can send you the slides. I don't think I've put them on here yet. So my email is kyle@nocodcollab.com. Anyway, first, who am I? Who is this guy talking to you? Currently, I've got a few things that are maybe of note here. I created a website called No Code Collab. I launched it a few months ago, but it's basically different tutorials and things about doing no code stuff on, with your business. So I have created that. So go check out nocodcollab.com. I also have a little digital consultancy where I help people with their websites and their digital strategy and different things like that. And then I'm the director of digital solutions is probably what takes up most of my time at Christensen Group Insurance. So I build their website and help them with all of their software and their technology for Christensen Group. And then I also co-lead the Webflow Twin Cities meetup. I'm a FormStack certified partner, and I have been kind of building, I think I built my first no-code workflow thingy system probably in about 2014 or 2015. And so that was kind of a fun project where you hooked up a bunch of different tools. But that's what I'm currently doing. I used to be a solutions architect at a company called MentorMate in Minneapolis, and was also a front-end web developer. So I'm kind of coming at this with a little bit more coding experience, not a full back-end, full stack developer or anything like that, but a front-end web developer. So that is just a little bit about me. So what are we going to talk about today? The first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about no code. So let's make sure that we're all singing from the same hymnal. There's a lot of different definitions and what people think no code is, and low code, difference between no code and low code. So we're going to talk about that. Then I want to kind of prove out what I said I was going to talk to you today about, which was launching faster, saving money, and streamlining your startup. So we're going to dive into how you can actually launch faster and save money. And then a lot of this is going to be spent on streamlining your startup and kind of hooking things up. And so we're going to look at a lot of different no-code tools. I'm going to throw a ton of different no-code tools at you. And then we're going to look at use cases for your business and also how you can apply this to your business directly. So that's what we're going to cover today. We've got a bunch of slides. So again, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to pop it in the chat or in the Q&A. So quick no-code overview. This is my definition. This is not an academic definition. This is just kind of how I think of no-code. There are exceptions to every rule, but for the purposes of this presentation, here's how I'm thinking about no code. No code tools are things where you obviously don't need to write or know how to code. Okay, so you don't have to write code to use them, but oftentimes no code tools provide you the ability to customize their tool with code. So that's kind of the one that goes without saying, is that you don't need to know how to code. Second one is typically they're cloud-based SaaS products. So that's software as a service that's on the cloud. You can access these tools from any web browser, Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari. You can access these tools just with a web browser. So you most of the time don't need to download a program onto your computer. Next is interoperability. That is a really fancy way of saying that these tools, a no-code tool, can communicate with other tools. And this, to me, is the biggest thing, because if a tool is just living in a sandbox, it's no good. So interoperability, these tools will have APIs. Oftentimes they'll integrate with a tool called Zapier, and they can talk to thousands of other tools. So that's a really big one. Another key thing here is there's a really low barrier to entry. So you can You can create your account. There's oftentimes free tiers. There's minimal setup, so you're not calling an enterprise sales guy to set up or gal to set up your system for you. It could be 12 o'clock on a Sunday night, and you create your account. It's free, and then most importantly, there's a lowish learning curve. The time to your first win, the time to get to that first thing is often really low. If you could try a tool and in 30 minutes, you might have something up. This isn't always true, but there's generally a lowish learning curve, at least when I'm thinking about no-code tools. And then we've got really targeted use cases. So we're not trying to do everything under the sun. We do a few things really well. We send email really well, or we make websites well, or we do this certain process really well. And then because of the interoperability, I do this one thing well, and then the thing that I don't do so well, I just talk and I pass that off to another tool. So this kind of is how I think about no code and no code tools. There's obviously exceptions to every one of these, but and I'll try to call them out as I talk about them, but this is generally how I'm thinking about it. So the first things I said was that you're going to be able to launch faster and save money. So here we go. If you were to give me, or if you had 1 week and $250, you could start running your business. And here's how I would do that using no code tools. Okay. So first I'd buy a domain from Google Domains. Side note, there's like 100 ways you could do this. This is just one way, but there's 100 ways you could start up your business for relatively cheap. But first thing I would do is I would go to Google Domains, domains.google.com. I would buy a domain. Then I would, right from there, I would get a Google Workspace account. It's $6 per user per month. Then you get a professional email that is tied to your domain. So you're not at gmail.com or not at yahoo.com. You are at yourbusiness.com. With a few clicks of a button, you enter your credit card, and all of a sudden you've got email, document storage, video conferencing, documents, spreadsheets, slides. So you've got this whole suite of tools. That's $72 a year. Then I would start a bank account with Brex. I have a Brex account. It's great. It's like a credit card, but also a bank account. That's free. So now I've created my bank account, which means I can start using Wave, which is an accounting software that is totally free to use. It's got all the reporting and everything that you would need to do with dual entry accounting. And then they also let you send out invoices so that you can actually get paid. And then that money goes into your Brex bank account. So Wave is totally free. If you're not really an accountant, Wave, there is a little bit of a learning curve with Wave. So there are some others that are out there, but you pay for those. And if you wanted someone to help you with Wave, they do have Wave bookkeepers that can help you with get going in Wave. Then I'd create a website with Squarespace. Well, I would probably do it in Webflow, but if you don't have any experience, you could create one in Squarespace. It's $144 a year. They'd help you make a logo. They'd give you free images through their stock images, their stock photography. And then I would go to a site called snazzy.ai. And what that does is it uses AI to help you write content for your website. So you can just put in some bullet points. You can just kind of word vomit into Snazzy AI, and they will make stuff that sounds nice, whether it's headlines or other copy. They have a free tier. You might run into their daily limits on the free tier, but there is a free tier, so that doesn't cost anything either. Then I would set up a free MailChimp account, so I could now do email marketing. And I'd use Trello, which is kind of a Kanban. It's an organizational tool, and you could use that as your CRM. So you could start tracking your clients and keeping track of everything in Trello. So all of these things pretty much can be done aside from the website, which might take you, a couple days. You could have all this stuff set up in really in no time, and for less than $250, you're running your business. You've got like the core things that you probably need, that every business probably needs to run. Obviously, if you're doing e-commerce or you're doing anything like that, some of these things are going to change. You need an e-commerce website, but that's how you could start it up. So now that is just running the business. Now, what about like creating your actual product, right? So you want to build an app, you want to build a marketplace, you want to build something like that. How can no code help you launch faster and save money? Well, there are actual web and mobile app builder no code tools out there. So you don't need to know how to develop, but you can make a mobile app or a web app. Typically, those are about $300 a year for the subscription, like, $25-ish a month. But now we've moved from months or years to get your thing off the ground, and probably tens of thousands of dollars to weeks and months. When I was doing my solutions architecture gig with MentorMate, kind of the starting point, and it's maybe even gone up from here, but kind of the pay to play is, you're in that $30,000 to $50,000 range just to get something created. And so with a web and mobile app builder, you can do it for, a couple $100 a year. Keep in mind, there's a much bigger learning curve here with these tools than there were with the previous slide, but you've got options here. So if you don't want to go learn it yourself, you could actually start from a template. So you pay the couple $100 and then you pay the subscription from the mobile and web app builders. And now you kind of are going from weeks and months down to days and weeks. So there's a site out there called Zero Code, ZeroQode, Zero Code. That's got a bunch of different templates that you could start, and you could basically create the Yelp for this, or the Airbnb for that, or the Instagram for this. So you could do that. Next, if you wanted to have a membership site or paid content or something, there are a lot of different tools out there that you could build on top of your website. So you can build on top of Squarespace. And so it's just another tier up, but now people will pay you to have access to other sites. So maybe that's a subscription to like a newsletter, or different paid content, videos, things like that. And then lastly, if you didn't want to do any of those things, you could find someone to build your no code tool for you. I don't actually know what this costs, but I would guess that it's probably $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, depending on what you need. Every project's a little different, but it's definitely not the $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 that we were talking about that I mentioned earlier. So hopefully that is a good way of explaining and showing you that we can save money and launch faster using no code. So that is just a really high level overview. Now, what I want to do next, though, is I want to talk about streamlining your startup, because the key here is I showed you all these tools that are kind of living on their own, but things get really, really interesting when you start to hook them up, right? And you hook up these tools so that when you get a new client, all these things happen downstream. Or when someone submits a form on your website, you automatically generate a proposal. So that's how we can start to streamline and use no code tools to create a situation where it's like it feels like there's 5 people working for your company, but really what you've done is you've just automated a lot of things, and it's really just you and a contractor or something. So that's what we're going to do. What I want you to do now is I'm going to go through and just show you all these tools, because every business and every situation is different. So be thinking about your business. What are the pain points that you have? What are the situations where you're thinking, I can do this better, I want to do this better? And I'm going to show you some tools. Just write down those tools, and then you can kind of go investigate them and see if they'll work for you. The big thing is that every tool I'm going to show you kind of ticks almost all of those boxes, should tick all the boxes that I showed you. Interoperability, lower learning curve, it's easy to set up, all those kinds of things. If there are ones that are a little more complex or don't fit that mold, I'll try to call it out. But here we go. So we've got It looks like a lot. We've got 20 categories that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to go kind of quick, but you've probably heard of some of these tools. Maybe you haven't heard of some of these tools, but all of these tools can kind of talk to each other and help you kind of run your business. That's what we're focusing on here is running your business. So the first one is accounting tools. I mentioned Wave. There's a few others. You probably heard of QuickBooks, Xero, FreshBooks. These are all accounting tools that will speak to other tools so that every time a new client or a new invoice or an overdue invoice or anything like that, you can talk and have things be created in your accounting tool or have other things downstream happen once something has happened in your accounting tool. So check those out. I know Wave is free. I think the other three are paid. Appointment scheduling. You've maybe heard of like Calendly, but basically that's where you've got the link that you can put really anywhere. You can put in your email signature. You can put it on your website, but people click the link and then they are able to schedule a meeting with you. And now you don't have that back and forth of scheduling a meeting. Calendly was kind of the first one that popularized it, but SavvyCal is another tool that is kind of coming on the scene. Acuity scheduling is what can actually be done inside of Squarespace, and HubSpot also has this feature as well. But HubSpot is kind of a really big tool. I mean, you could build your website, you can do email marketing. It's a marketing automation platform. I mean, HubSpot is a big tool, so there's a big learning curve with HubSpot. And Squarespace actually is kind of getting to that point now too. You can do email marketing, membership sites, obviously web pages. You can do a ton of different stuff in Squarespace, one of which is appointment scheduling. Running your business, the software suite. I mentioned Google Workspace earlier. Obviously, Microsoft Office 365. These are both online. I think you probably know about these. I think their pricing is about the same. So we can move on from this. Client onboarding. This is one that's kind of like making a big push recently in the no-code space. But these are things that take your processes. So if you are a process-heavy business, these are things that can help streamline that process. So let's say you've got a new client onboarding process. What you do is you basically could create like a template of like, every time I onboard a new client, these are the 8 things I do. These tools, Macro, Process, Pipefy, ClusterDoc, what they do is you create a template of those eight steps. And then when a new client comes on, you just duplicate that template for the client. And now if there's other people that need to be involved, you basically, it helps you make sure that things don't slip through the cracks. So ClusterDoc actually gives your clients a portal to like submit documents, submit a logo, tell us what is your business address, who are you, so you can kind of customize the onboarding from a client-facing standpoint with ClusterDoc. The others here can trigger other tools and they can notify people. And so this can help you, these tools can help you not drop the ball when it comes to different processes that you're doing. Flat file is one where if you have a client, if you have a process where you need to collect a lot of information, if you need to collect, big spreadsheets full of data, flat file is something where you can map the data to your tool from their tool or their file. So it's a data mapping software that should hopefully make that process of consuming all of your clients' data much more streamlined and efficient. Customer relationship managers. Obviously, you've probably heard of Salesforce. You heard me talk about HubSpot. Pipedrive is the sales CRM for salespeople, built by salespeople. So that's a really popular one. And then if you're using Google Workspace, Copper actually lives right inside of Gmail, inside of your email. And so that is one that is very popular as well. I haven't used Copper, but I've heard great things about Copper. So these are just a few that you could look at. Dashboards, reporting. So let's say if you want to stay on top of your reporting and you don't want to have to create reports every day, every week, or every month. These are some tools that can actually communicate with those other no-code tools and always have you or allow your data to be visible in real time. So Databox, Plecto, Gecko Board, they're effectively dashboards that you can use to report on any number of tools that are that you're using in your no-code stack. Database spreadsheets, obviously we've heard of Excel, Google Sheets. Airtable is a really popular one. Feels a lot like a spreadsheet, but it's like if a spreadsheet and a database had a baby, and that baby was really friendly and liked to play with all others, and it was like the cool kid on the block, that would be Airtable. Notion and Coda are more document based, but they're also, you could use them as a database. So a lot of people use them for internal documentation. Document storage, you probably heard of OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, and Box. Those are a couple there. Design. Now, design tools don't really integrate all that much with other tools, but I wanted to include these because some founders feel like they're terrible designers, and Canva can really help with that. Canva has all of these templates that you can use, and you can go in, you can find the template, you can customize it, and it basically takes the guesswork out of design. So I know I have a lot of clients who use Canva, and it's like a lifesaver for them because they're able to design and make really good looking stuff. Figma and Sketch are more pro level design tools where you can collaborate with other people, but also it prevents you from having to spend all that money on the Adobe Design Suite. So they're kind of more modern tools that are good to help you avoid paying Adobe those exorbitant subscription fees. So document automation. This is one of the big places that I help a lot of clients with. I'm a big FormStack Documents fan, but basically if you're generating proposals or estimates or presentations or even just like one-pager PDFs that you want to customize for a client, you should be looking at document automation. FormStack Documents is a great one. You basically create your template, and then you can feed data in from these other tools to then just automatically generate these tools. So look to these if you've got a document heavy business, or even if it's not document heavy, but you just don't like making documents and they're basically the same all the time. Doc Parser is a unique one because what Doc Parser does is oftentimes people get PDFs that are invoices, or they are receipts, or they're different things that they get emailed or sent to them. And then they spend a lot of time taking information from that PDF and putting it somewhere else. They put it in a spreadsheet, they put it in a database, they put it in an email to someone. And so they're just manually taking information from a PDF and they're putting it into somewhere else. Doc Parser does that for you. You train Doc Parser on what you're looking for in that document. It will then it'll grab the information, and then you can have it send anywhere else. So it's a real time saver. Doc Parser is a good one. They've also got a tool called Mail Parser, I think. So if you're getting emails that have text that is you're always taking information from this email and putting it somewhere else, they've got a companion product called Mail Parser. So definitely look at document automation. You can save a ton of time and a ton of money and a lot of headaches by automating your documents. Email marketing, we've probably all heard of MailChimp, Constant Contact, MailChimp, excuse me. MailerLite is another big one. They've got a great free tier. Constant Contact. Those are email marketing platforms, and those have actually grown. Now they're doing web pages, and they've got, a lot of different tools. So those have grown to be pretty big pieces of software. Transactional email is those are tools where when someone does something, then you send them an email, a one-off email. Whereas the marketing email is like, you're going to send it to a whole list of people. Transactional email is, I bought something and now I get a receipt. That's a transactional email. So if you need any transactional email, look at MailerSend or Mandrill. Mandrill is actually a MailChimp company. It's their transactional email platform. Physical mail. This one's interesting. If you want to send someone a letter, you want to send them a postcard, you want to send people something in the mail, they fill out a form online, and then you want to automatically send them a thank you postcard, or you want to, they're a customer for however long and you want to send them a discount code. You can, through Lob and PostGrid, you can actually send people snail mail automatically. So if that is something that could help your business, look to those two tools. Online forms, everyone has filled out online forms before, I'm sure. Google Forms, Typeform is a one question at a time. It's a really nice user experience. Jotform is kind of they're making a name for themselves. They've got a lot of, really cool widgets and different ways you can ask questions, and that's very extensible. So you can do a lot of stuff with Jotform. And then FormStack integrates really nicely with their other tools. They've got a signature tool and a document automation tool that I talked about. And so you can take stuff really quickly from a FormStack form into documents and then get signatures. HR tools, if you need HR tools, if you're lucky enough for that, Bamboo HR and Breezy HR seem to be two very popular ones that also have that interoperability and can communicate with others. Slack, Microsoft Teams, Google Chat. These, don't underestimate these when it comes to your no-code stack. You can trigger a lot of notifications into these tools to just notify your team of stuff. Maybe there's a new prospect, there's a new customer, there's a new complaint, there's a new issue. If you've set it up, you can notify your people, and so they'll instantly, if you're already on these tools, you can instantly notify your team of things that are going on. So don't underestimate the power of these tools in your no-code workflows. Internal documentation, Microsoft Word, Google Docs, obviously. I mentioned Notion and Coda. They're kind of like databases, so those are great. One that I just played around with the other day that I thought was fantastic is this tool called Tango. What you do is instead of writing your documents and then trying to take, if you're trying to explain something to someone, you're like, okay, so go click on this button, and then you take a screen grab, and then you're now go over here and click this. And so when you're creating your internal documentation, what Tango does is it records what you're doing. And every time you click or type or change pages, it's recording, it takes a screenshot. And so then it just builds your documentation for you. So it's a huge time saver. It's kind of one of those like mind blown kind of things where if you're trying to create internal documentation, definitely go check out Tango. Super easy to use, and it can save you a lot of time by creating really nice step-by-step process documents that include screenshots. So that's one for internal documentation. Marketing automation, Pardot, HubSpot. You've heard me talk about this before. These are really big tools, big learning curves. But if you are a slightly larger, or you want to kind of have something big that you can grow into as a startup, look at those. Marketing automation platforms generally are going to start looking at like integrating with your website more. And so you'll be able to track someone when they're on LinkedIn, and then they go to your website, and then they surf around on your website page, and then they submit this form. Like a marketing automation tool is going to watch all of that. Whereas just an email marketing tool is going to kind of focus on email and tell you about what's going on in email and kind of like that. So payments, Stripe is a big one. They've come out with some no-code solutions, so you can put Stripe payment buttons, PayPal, Venmo. A lot of people actually use Venmo for their business. So you don't have to, don't just think that Venmo is just only peer-to-peer. There's a Venmo professional business account. And then Gumroad is a tool that if you're selling digital goods or digital files, things like that, Gumroad is a good place to look. The other thing on all of those accounting softwares that I mentioned at the very beginning, FreshBooks, Xero, QuickBooks, and Wave, I believe all of those can send out invoices. So you might not need any of these payments if you're more of an invoice-driven business. All right, if you're still with me, here we go. Project management. Trello, as I mentioned before, was that free tool where you can kind of manage to-do lists. You can manage clients. You can manage projects. You can do a lot of that stuff. So Trello is great. Monday.com. If you've been on the internet in the past year, you've probably seen a Monday.com advertisement. I've never used it, despite all the money they've spent marketing to me, but there are people who really love it. So it's worth a look if you're looking for project management and things like that. And then Basecamp is kind of an old guard in the project management software space. So check out Basecamp. That can be kind of a nice tool. Side note, apologies if you've got a tool that is in one of these categories and you think it's better, or I missed something. There are just so many tools to know that are out there. So it's really hard to like capture them all. We'd be here all day. There's probably thousands. So I'm just picking off a few of them. Let's keep moving. I see a note to share my email, and I will definitely do that. It's Kyle@nocodecollab.com, but it's on the last screen here too, so you'll see. Swag. So let's say, just like you can send, physical mail in an automated fashion, you can actually create swag and products and things. So you could create t-shirts, you could create fanny packs, you could create socks. So a really cool thing is you could create an e-commerce store that someone comes, they order a product, and you don't have to deal with printing, you don't have to deal with warehousing, you don't have to deal with shipping. Basically, Printful is an automated way. They get an order, they print it, and they drop ship it to whoever has ordered it. And so you just have to set up what products you want to be selling, what sizes, what's the design, all that stuff. You set it up, and then Printful will actually create your swag or create your products for your store. It's a pretty cool tool. Website builders, I am very partial. I'm very biased in favor of Webflow. Webflow is basically, you can do anything you want in Webflow. One problem with Webflow is if you've never done this before, there is a learning curve with Webflow. So if you don't really want the big, if you want something a little more easy, I would look at Squarespace. They've got really nice templates. Webflow also has templates, but the learning curve with Webflow is just a little steeper. And then if you are creating an e-commerce store, Shopify is really kind of the way to go. You can do e-commerce in Webflow and Squarespace, but Shopify is kind of the gold standard there. A little bit more of a learning curve than Squarespace, but that is an option. So now let's look at building your product. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that you could build your product. Here are 3 tools that can help you build your mobile app or your web app. Adalo is a tool that will build mobile apps for you. They might do web apps now. This is kind of more, this is more of the easy button. It's not a total easy button, but it's more templated. You're not going to have as many features and customizations and things in Adalo. But if you've got a simple app that you're trying to build, Adalo could be a great thing. You build it, and then it pushes out to both iOS and Android. So that's really cool. Bubble is a tool that they're kind of known as being the no-code app builder. There is quite a learning curve with Bubble, so just keep that in mind. You're probably gonna want to watch the tutorials and the videos and all that stuff. But Bubble is a way that you can build your app with no code. And then I think it's called Wized. Wized. This is a new one on the scene, but basically it allows you to take your Webflow website and turn it into a web app. So you can build right on top of Webflow and build your app right in Webflow. So it's a new one on the scene, but it's really promising. But otherwise, if you're not looking to try the new tech, I would look at Bubble. And then if you've got an easier situation, I would look at Adalo. Memberships. So as I mentioned, you could build a membership site in Squarespace. So you basically what you're doing is you're building a website. Let's say you've got 50 pages. With these membership products, what they're basically doing is they are basically saying these 20 pages are for paid members only. And then they do all of the login, they do all the authentication, they do the forgot password, they do all of that, and they just basically block out a certain percentage of the sites that you tell it. And so someone must have an account in order to view certain pages. So Squarespace allows you to do that. MemberStack is a big one. MemberSpace. I've used MemberStack before. I thought it was great, super easy to use. And I know there's a lot of people that have used Outseta. And I think Outseta even has some more features on top of that. They might have a little bit of a CRM aspect to Outseta. Now, lastly, this is connecting our tools. This has been a whirlwind. Thank you for sticking with me. Connecting your tools. None of this would really matter if your tools didn't talk to each other. So the the glue that connects all of this is these tools, and mainly it's Zapier. Zapier is the easiest one, but basically Zapier is the tool that when something happens in tool A, Zapier's listening and it goes, oh, there's a new sign up on my email form, on my email list. When that happens, Zapier then is listening, and then it kind of connects the pipe, and it can tell another tool what to do. It'll be like, oh, there was a sign up on the email form, take the email, take the name, and then send that data to Airtable and put that person's name and email in this Airtable or in Trello, or send that to MemberStack because I want to create a new account for that person or something, right? So these are the tools that you create accounts at all of these disparate tools. And then what you do is you go into Zapier and you say, okay, when this trigger happens, then I want Zapier to do all these other things. And I want it to communicate with all these other tools. So that's Zapier. Integromat and Parabola are different flavors on that same idea. If you've never used Zapier before, if you've never done this before, I recommend starting with a really simple Zap. But Integromat and Parabola can do more batch processing and are great if you've got an existing data set and you need to go through that and you need to like run through 500 rows of a thing and of a database and send it to somewhere else. That's good because those tools will go through all 500 rows and send it somewhere else, where Zapier is more of this thing happened and then go do these things. So in the previous, you'd have to go through like 500 times and tell Zapier, like, do this, do this, do this. So, but start with Zapier. Zapier is really the reason we're all here today. That's what I would say. So now let's talk about use cases. Let's give some examples of how we can use those tools in our business. So let's say that you've got a situation where your managers aren't hearing about issues, and you want to, if someone fills out a form and says they've got an issue, you want to escalate that up to management. So the way we're thinking about this is triggers and actions. So the trigger is a customer sends a feedback form. That could be on your website. That could be a form somewhere else, like on a specific web page. Maybe it's through a type form, something like that. But customer submits a form. Zapier is listening for that form submission. Form submission happens. Zapier knows that, oh, this is the customer issue form. Once that happens, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Microsoft Teams. We're going to notify our customer success team about the issue. Then Zapier is going to tell HubSpot to add a note to that person's record in HubSpot. And then what we're going to do is Zapier is then going to go into Outlook, and Outlook is then going to send an email with all of the information that was submitted in that form, and it's going to send it to everyone on the management team. And then if you wanted to, as a bonus, we could start to track the customer issue count on a dashboard that's visible to all employees, right? So we could use Gecko board to start to show all of our customer issues, or the customer issue count. So you can see that by using no-code tools, someone submits a form and then all these 4 things have happened. If you were to build this with code, this would be a big tool that this could cost $20,000 to $10,000 to build. Because you're using no-code tools, Teams is free. Outlook is effectively free. You've got 2 subscriptions, and you'd have to have Zapier as well, which costs money. But I mean, it's much cheaper, and you could get it built in a day. So moving on to the next use case. Let's say you've got a customer that has been around for a year or 5 years or 6 months, and you want to celebrate that. So let's say that in Salesforce, you are listening that whenever there's a record or an account that has a 1-year anniversary, they've been an account for 1 year, that Zapier is going to be listening for that. Or Salesforce even has some integrations as well, but we're then going to have Zapier is going to listen. It's going to send a notification to Slack to let our team know that we've got an anniversary, and how exciting is that? Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Lob, and we're going to send a snail mail. We've got a template set up that is going to send them a postcard that's got a discount code and is saying, thank you for being a customer. And then we're also going to send an email to Gmail to that account manager, notifying them of the customer anniversary. So that is one way that you could use no-code tools to celebrate that anniversary. I'm totally making these situations up. You might have different tools. You might be using Teams instead of Slack, Pipedrive instead of Salesforce, Outlook instead of Gmail. But the idea here is they all can talk to each other. So in order to do this workflow, you don't have to use Salesforce, Slack, Lob, and Gmail. You can use your tools. So that's kind of exciting. Now let's say you want to generate an estimate. So you get a web form that someone submits it, and you want to just automatically generate a proposal and automatically generate an estimate. Well, someone submits a FormStack form. So they go to your website, they fill out some information, they fill out a form. Then in forms, what we can do is we can actually calculate an estimate right in the form. Then when that form is submitted, the data is sent to FormStack documents and signed. Now we're automatically generating a proposal and an estimate that then is sent to FormStack sign, and then that gets emailed to the customer for signature. We're also going to then save that to Dropbox because we want to have a record of that proposal. Then we're also going to notify Microsoft Teams to say, hey, there's a new proposal that's out. We've got a new proposal that's out there. It was sent to so-and-so, so we've got all those details. And then maybe we want to create an Outlook calendar event that then reminds us that, hey, in 5 days, 3 days, follow up with that person to see if they haven't already signed that form. So those are a couple examples as well, how you could do that. Automated reporting, maybe Monday morning at 5 a.m., Parabola is going to go out. It's going to automate. You've got a spreadsheet that always gets updated. It's going to go out there. It's going to look at that spreadsheet, do some filtering. It's going to do some number crunching, and we're going to send that data to Databox. And we're going to put that information in Databox, but then Databox is also going to go and look at HubSpot. It's going to look at FreshBooks for invoices that are past due. We're going to look at customer issues from that example that we had early. And then we're going to email this report to our leaders every Monday morning. So we're going out and we're grabbing this stuff from all of our tools every Monday morning. Lastly, this is kind of the big kahuna, but I'll kind of go quickly here. New client onboarding. So let's say that in Pipedrive, you've gone through and you've said that we just won a deal, right? So your client has been converted from a prospect into a client. Once that happens, we're going to generate a contract that they need to sign. So that's FormStack documents and sign. Then we're going to trigger MailChimp to send them a welcome email, welcoming them to the company and working with us. Then we're going to go to Pipefy, which was that customer onboarding tool, to create a new to-do list, because we've got to let 5 different people around the company know that they need to start doing things. So Pipefy is going to create a new to-do list. Slack is going to notify the entire team. FreshBooks is going to create that client as a new account in FreshBooks. MemberStack might give them a new account in our membership site. So now they've got their account created. Printful is going to print a shirt and drop ship it to them. Trello is going to create a new card so that as we're managing their project, we've got the project management card, and Databox is going to add that client to our dashboard. All of that could happen just by one thing happening in Pipedrive. So this is how we're streamlining our business. This is happening automatically, but this could have been 15 different things that people would have to would be looking at in their or having to do. So that's kind of the big kahuna. So lastly, and I'll go real quick through these. When you're thinking about your business, identify your pain. Find the lengthy manual processes, the customer churn. What is your pain? Then document that out. So write down step by step how you're currently doing it. Write down step by step how you'd like to do it. Identify the triggers. This happens, then this happens. The triggers, the actions, the manual inputs, the tools that you need to use. So write everything down, document it out step by step, be very detailed. Then what you can do is you can start to look at what tools, and I've maybe listed some here, maybe you need a different tool, but start at Zapier. They've got a page that says apps that work with Zapier, and start looking. You need an HR tool, search HR. they've got all these categories. You need a document automation tool, you need a signature tool, you need a design tool, whatever it is. Go to Zapier, start there, because if it's on Zapier, you know it's going to talk to the other tools. So that's where I always start. But then also keep in mind that the tools that are in your process, we need to integrate with those as well. So don't forget about those. And then always start simple. I gave you that the huge behemoth at the very end there. Start with like one of those things where, okay, someone was converted from a prospect to a lead. I want to just do something in Slack, right? I want to send them swag. Just start with one thing, an easy thing, verify that it's working and it's helping, and then build on top of that. Build the core of the onion, and then build out from there, and then iterate. If it doesn't work, if you don't like a tool, if the tool's a pain in the ass, stop using the tool. There are thousands of tools. So only use tools that you like, revisit the process, and then tweak. If you don't like a tool, dump it. Okay. There are so many tools. If you don't like a tool, dump it. Lastly, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So just because you can automate something doesn't mean you necessarily should. Start doing it manually and then automate from there. These tools and automations can quickly get out of hand. So it should make your job easier, but it can quickly get out of hand. So if you go overboard, all of a sudden, you're going to be spending all your time managing your tools and managing your process and managing all the stuff, and you won't be running your business. So the key is start small, find the real pain points that's going to move the needle, and find the pain points that are going to make an impact. Start there. Don't worry about automating everything. Just start small. That is the last point that I'd like to leave you with. Otherwise, questions, there's my email, Kyle@NoCodeCollab. Let me check the Q&A over here. We have no Q&A. I think there are still a few of you in here. If you would like to chat, if you want to send me an email, I'd love to connect with you. I'd love talking no code. If you're a Webflow person, come to the Webflow Twin Cities meetup. Otherwise, thank you for spending 45 minutes. It was a lot of content, and I hope that it was valuable. So thank you for coming. I'll stick around for a few minutes just in case people have questions. Otherwise, have a great Wednesday. Thank you for all the great feedback as well. Appreciate it. The learning curve on Webflow. The learning curve on Webflow is pretty steep. They have the one thing I'll say about Webflow, Jake, if you're still on, is they have the best training videos. It's the weirdest thing. You'll sit there and you'll watch the training videos and I'll be laughing out loud. They're fantastic training videos. Webflow University is the best training videos I've ever seen from any tool. So if you do have any questions on Webflow, be sure to check out Webflow University, because it is it's a great resource. Oh, one other thing, if anyone's still on, I can talk tools that I really like, or if you want to share your camera or anything. There's a tool that I've been using a lot called PepperType. I mentioned Snazzy AI. There's also PepperType. Man, that one saves me so much time. You go in there and basically it uses AI to write stuff for you. So you go in and I use it for YouTube video descriptions. So I go in and I write what the video is about. I just in like a word vomit, say what the video is about. I click like generate YouTube video description, and it gives me all these great ideas. It's not perfect. It's 80% there, but I'd rather start with 80% than 0%. So PepperType is a great tool to check out. Also, that Tango is awesome if you're a person that needs to create documentation. Other one that's great is Loom. I didn't really add Loom, but there's so many tools. Loom creates videos. Videos are a lot better than, are great for documentation. So with that, unless there's any more questions, thank you for coming. I'll keep an eye on the questions though. Would you recommend, I said Loom, yes, Loom, Loom. It's great for just quick recording screen. It'll record your video and then you can like show people like one button instead of like typing up an email that's like, here's how you do this whole thing. Click the button, you say start Loom, walks you through, and then it creates the video, and then you can just share that link with people, and it's a screen recording tool. And it's free, which is awesome. Would you recommend a mobile app tool to practice building apps? Yeah. The one, I suppose it depends what type of app you are trying to build. If you're like ready to go for it, I would try Bubble. There's going to be a learning curve, but if you're like, hey, I want to practice and I want to learn, I would sign up for Bubble. They've got online, they've got courses and videos and things. So you could eventually kind of make your way towards having an app. There's going to be a learning curve, but Bubble, they kind of say with Bubble, like you can build anything with Bubble. You could build Yelp with Bubble. You could build Airbnb with Bubble. You can build Instagram, like I said, Twitter. So look at Bubble. Look at Bubble and see what and see how that goes. Are you open to workshopping a flow? Yeah, I'll workshop a flow. Let's workshop. Let's play jazz. Let's workshop. Vernon, do you want to I don't know if you can you share your audio video, or do you have an idea for what you want to workshop? I'm happy to jump in. Let's see Vernon.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for being willing to workshop. So first of all, love the presentation. Amazing information. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm looking to create an app, e-commerce. And so what I'd love to do is build an app and be able to link it to a CRM and inventory What would you, so a user goes on, looks at our app, looks at the inventory, selects some items, and then purchases those items, and then they come to me. I'd love the inventory to be updated as well.
What are you selling?
Food, groceries, food.
So it's like high volume stuff.
Some high value, there'll be some B2B as well, like big bulk, lower volume, but big bulk item.
Oh yeah. High volume.
Okay.
So the first thing I would look at is Shopify. As weird as it is to think a Shopify app to sell groceries.
Yeah.
But I'd look at Shopify because I believe Shopify should have some integration with, I'm just going to I'll just share my screen and we'll see what we find. So I would say Shopify inventory management. So managing inventory. What are you using to
nothing? We are 21 days in. It's all in our head right now.
I love it. So the first place I'd look is Shopify and see if Shopify has anything. Stock is available for stores that have point of sale enabled for their store. Or do you have point of sale? Do you have point of sale?
No, I don't have anything. We don't.
No, but I'm saying like, will you have point of sale, or is it all?
Oh, no, just the app, pure app.
Okay. So the first place I'd start, and the other thing I'd do is maybe look at Zap. So this is how you get apps that work with Zapier, right? And what I might do is look at inventory. So you can see that these are kind of some of the tools that come up. And the other thing is you can also look on the categories, right? So communication content. So you could. I don't know the groceries. So you're going to have a warehouse probably or something where you've got all these groceries, and then an order is going to come in, and you're going to need to basically scan that order out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's got to be I would think that Shopify could do that, because it's not like it's different than your it's not like that's different than selling t-shirts, right?
Right. Yeah, just an item. So you have your inventory of items. The users on the app, they can see the items. They go and select two, and then they go to purchase, and then is it hitting?
So I would do it all. So to full disclosure, I've never created a Shopify site. I'm confident I could, but I never have. But I know you can manage your inventory. You can get reports on all this stuff. So Shopify to me seems like you could potentially inside of Shopify as like an MVP. You could potentially do this inside of Shopify. The other thing that I'd maybe say, and the way to be thinking about this, is this tool and most no-code tools. I don't know if there's anyone else on. The way that I think about no-code, and a lot of people often say like, well, is this going to scale with me to, am I going to be able to build my empire with this? And the thing is, you're not building an empire. You're building the start of an empire, right? And so you just need something that can get you up and running as best as quickly and as cheaply as possible, because you want to find out whether or not this works, right? So
exactly.
I would say that Shopify, with having done 2 minutes of research into this, I would say that Shopify is probably a really good place to start, and you might outgrow Shopify. It might turn out that like this Shopify works for you for the next 4 months or for the next 6 months.
Okay.
But then you, at least at that point, that it works, right? And now you can go out and you can get the large grocery inventory management software that, integrates with, needs a custom build and all this. But at least at that point, you've got revenue. You've got a proof of concept. That it works. So Shopify could actually do your it could be your e-commerce store, could do your inventory management. The other thing is like what's nice about Shopify is that when you buy something from Shopify, you have to users, after they buy, they want to come back and they want to be able to log in and see status on their order, right?
Yeah.
And so all these things are baked into Shopify. Whereas like Webflow, you can sell stuff on Webflow and it can look however you want and it's great. But the problem is they don't have that ability for like you to return back and like see your order history and, track the order. And you can do all of this in Shopify. And so Shopify could even be your CRM because people have to create accounts. So you could use that as your CRM. The other thing, if you didn't want to use Shopify as your CRM, what you could do is, let's say you wanted, to use you come in here and you could use Shopify and you could have if you want to use Salesforce as your CRM, I wouldn't probably recommend that, but you can see create a Salesforce contact from new Shopify customers. Add leads to Salesforce from Shopify orders. Add new shop, So let's say you wanted to do, let's say you wanted to start small because you're selling B2B. You're going to have fewer customers, and so you want to the CRM is you're not going to have thousands of customers. You're going to have probably dozens of customers.
Yeah.
Then you could maybe you could use Airtable maybe as your CRM, which is basically a database, and now update products in Shopify from new records. And so that's going from Airtable to Shopify. So create Airtable records from new paid orders in Shopify. So every time there's a new paid order in Shopify, we're going to create a new record in Airtable. So there's all these different ways. And when we're thinking about triggers and actions, right? So the trigger is there's a new paid order, right? And so then we've got a new, I'll even log in. I'll show you. Have you ever used Zapier before?
No.
Let me show you what it's like. It's pretty slick. So here are some, let's see if I can find a good Zap. So on No Code Collab, here's a great example. When someone is on No Code Collab and when they submit a form on my website, what I'm doing is I choose my app, which is Webflow. It's link my account, and my trigger is when the form is submitted. The form submission is on Webflow. And then what I do is I say, I'm going to add a new step. And what you can do is say, like, let's say I want to add this to Airtable. I could add this submission to Airtable, and now I'm saying Airtable. I'm going to create a record. I'm going to choose my Airtable account, and it's going to be my, I don't have my Airtable set up for this, but you basically are going through and you're saying exactly what you want, right? You're just basically saying when this thing happens,
then this, then do this, and then do this. This is great. This is fantastic.
So when the form submission happens on my Webflow form, I'm basically going to go into MailerLite, which is what I use for my email, and I'm going to basically the subscriber group, I'm calling it No Code Collab, and I'm passing see how there's this little W for Webflow? That means that I'm getting this email address from Webflow. So the data that I've collected here, which you can see, this is my test data. The data that I collected there is getting passed through, and I'm putting it right into MailerLite where the email field is on my list. And so it's taking the data from one tool and sending it to another. So you could create your Shopify store. Every time a new account is created in Shopify, you're sending that to Airtable, you're sending that to Google Sheets, you're sending that to Pipedrive, you're sending yourself an email. Maybe you just want to get an email, right? Or something. I would be surprised if Shopify can't send you an email.
Yeah.
So
this is great. This is fantastic.
Yeah, so that's that's Zapier, and the cool thing is you can do a bunch of different stuff. Like, let me show you. Like, you can throw here's one where I'm receiving an email that has a PDF, right? So I'm getting that document so in Doc Parser, I'm receiving a document. I'm grabbing information out of there. I'm grabbing information out of that PDF. Once I've grabbed the information, Zapier's listening, and it goes, oh, there's new information from a PDF. And now what I'm doing is I'm grabbing that information. I'm actually taking that data. I'm running some JavaScript on it. And then I'm passing it to FormStack documents where I'm creating a different document.
Wow.
So you're able to do all this stuff. Now, this has JavaScript with a little code, but it's a lot easier to create this than build the whole system from scratch.
And Zapier is kind of like the platform where all of it integrates into. Through.
Zapier is the pipe. Zapier is the pipes that connects everything. Like you're not going to go into Zapier. Like if Zapier is running well, you're never going to go into Zapier. You're going to set up your Zap. You're not going to go into Zapier because you're going to go to Shopify to look at your customers, or you're going to go to Airtable to look at your customers, or you're going to go somewhere else to look at your sales, right? But Zapier is connecting all of those pieces. The only time you're going to go into Zapier is if you want to connect something new, or if for some reason one of the connections is broken.
Change the rules.
Yep.
Yeah.
So think of it
this
like,
is outstanding, Kyle. I really appreciate you walking me through this.
Absolutely. Just think of it like actions, like triggers and actions. So there's a trigger. What do I want to like? What is starting this whole thing? And that start is a new order. It's a new subscription. It's a new customer. It's whatever it is. That trigger. Then what do you want to have happen? It's all about trigger. It's all about the triggers and actions.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Best of luck with everything. I hope that helped. And feel free to reach out if you got any questions.
Will do. It's very helpful. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Vernon.